Are you thinking about buying a brand new construction home? I mean, imagine it. Gleaming hardwood floors, spotless rooms, brand new appliances, zero character flaws to deal with. It sounds pretty perfect, right? But here's the twist. Buying new construction isn't the fairy tale it's all cracked up to be. In fact, there are some hidden nightmares waiting underneath that fresh coat of paint that can turn your dream home into a costly headache. So today, we're gonna break down 5 surprising drawbacks to buying new construction that might make you rethink your perfect choice. And if you're still set on buying, well then stick around, because after, I'm gonna give you 5 priceless tips that could save you time, money, and some serious frustration. So let's dive right in. Number 1, price is never what it seems. There are some hidden costs. One of the biggest surprises with new construction homes is that the cost goes way beyond the advertised price. Builders love to lure you in with an attractive base price, which covers just the bare essentials: walls, flooring, and basic fixtures. But the reality is, every single upgrade will cost you extra. Do you want hardwood floors instead of laminate? Add on. Prefer granite or quartz countertops? Extra. You want some landscaping? More money, please. Even things that may seem standard, like light fixtures, nicer cabinets, or additional outlets, come with a price tag. It is not uncommon for buyers to spend tens of thousands of dollars more than the base price just to get the house to a point where it feels finished. I had some clients recently that ended up spending over $200,000 above the base price once they were done at the design center. And they didn't do anything that crazy. They did finish the basement, and they finished the upper level, and then they added a few things here and there, but it just all adds up. So just be aware before you get sold on that base price that you're not gonna get the house that you thought you were getting, AKA the model. Because the model will be tricked out with every possible upgrade, and it does create FOMO. I've seen it time and time again. And let's not forget closing costs. New construction contracts are very different than resale contracts. Builders construct them to be very builder friendly. Here in Maryland, for example, for resale contracts, traditionally the buyer and seller split transfer and recordation taxes 50-50. For new construction, the buyer pays all of the transfer and recordation taxes for both sides. And this can add up to a lot of money. Just to give you an example, for $1 million home here in Maryland, that could be the difference of paying $15,000 or approximately $30,000. So it can really add up. So if you're used to buying an existing home and now you're thinking about buying new construction, just know your closing costs are going to be a lot more than they would normally be. And while we're talking about hidden costs, we need to talk about property taxes, because this can be a real problem. When you first look at a new construction home, the property taxes can seem to be really low. And here's why. The estimate is usually based on the land value before the house was built. Or if there was a house previously, a tear down, then the property taxes are usually based on that old house, not the new house. So in that initial tax year, it's basically the undeveloped lot rate or an older, smaller, less valued home, making it seem affordable. But fast forward now to when the county reassesses your property. Now they're looking at the value of the finished home, and suddenly your property tax bill could double or even triple. For buyers who budgeted on that low initial tax rate, the jump can be a massive financial shock. It's an easy trap to fall into, especially since builders and sometimes real estate agents don't point it out to you. In fact, a recent survey showed that of all the regrets that home buyers have had recently, property taxes was the #1 gripe, surprising 33% of new owners. So if you are set on buying a new build, make sure to get a realistic tax estimate based on the finished product of the new home, not just the land or the old house that was torn down. Personally, when my clients are buying new construction, I always contact the county and I give them the address and I tell them the size of the house and a little bit about it, and they'll give me an estimated property tax for my buyer. This way you won't be blindsided by a tax bill that's much, much higher than you expected. Better to know up front than get hit with a big surprise after you moved in and you're stuck with this unaffordable bill. Number 2, quality control issues. Now let's talk quality control, one of the biggest frustrations for new construction buyers. With the demand for housing skyrocketing, many builders are in a rush to keep up, which means they're often juggling multiple projects at the same time. Unfortunately, this rush can lead to some quality compromises. For starters, builders rely on subcontractors who may not be fully invested in the long-time durability of your home. These subcontractors are often under tight deadlines and stretched thin, so a lot of things can fall through the cracks. Imagine moving in only to find your brand new home has issues like poorly installed drywall or misaligned windows or even cracked foundations. These aren't just minor inconveniences. They're foundational issues that can lead to bigger problems and costly repairs down the line. And then there's the inspection process. While builders will conduct their own inspections, they're not always thorough. Sometimes they're more about ticking boxes than ensuring the high standards. Yes, there are official city or county inspections, but they don't always find everything. For instance, a rushed plumbing installation might mean leaks waiting to happen, or improperly sealed windows could lead to drafts and water damage down the road. You should always consider bringing in an independent inspector to inspect the house once it's finished, but before you give them your money. I mean, I get it. Some buyers prefer to just save the money and use the builder's inspector because they know they're going to have a second chance at 6 months or a year to give the builder a punch list of issues to fix. I have a friend, she's not a client because this happened in Delaware where I'm not licensed, who bought new construction with a big builder, who will remain nameless for now, and the roof kept leaking again and again and again. And they kept coming out and they would fix it and patch it and say they fixed it. And then it would happen again. Well, now they're dealing with mold issues and lawsuits and lawyers and all that stuff that I don't want to happen to you. So consider bringing your own inspector. They'll look for signs of rushed or sloppy work that could be missed in the usual process. And just a side note, even if your builder offers you a new home build warranty, which they all should, getting these issues fixed can still be a nightmare. You might find yourself on a waiting list for weeks, and these small issues can turn into much bigger ones. So just be mindful and know what you're getting into with new construction. Number 3, HOA fees and restrictions. All right, let's dig into HOAs or homeowners association just briefly, because they are one of the things that can be a double-edged sword in new construction communities. On the one hand, they're designed to keep neighborhoods looking neat and orderly, which sounds great in theory. They make sure everybody maintains their lawns, keeps up appearances, and doesn't park an old rusty truck on the front lawn, for example. But the reality is that that type of control can sometimes feel like a bit much. First, let's talk about the rules. HOAs can have some pretty specific rules on what you can and can't do with your house. Want to paint your front door a unique color? You might need approval first. Thinking about adding a fence, planting a garden, or even putting up holiday decorations? Yep, those can be regulated too. Many HOAs have restrictions on things as small as what type of mailbox you can have, or the type of plants you can use in your landscaping. And if you step outside of their guidelines, you could have to pay fines or even be forced to remove whatever you added at your own cost. Then there are the fees. HOAs are often required in these communities, and they usually collect fees either monthly or annually. These fees usually will go to things like maintaining the common areas, the amenities, the pool, the clubhouse. And even if you don't use these amenities, you still gotta pay for them. And here's something that most people don't always realize. These fees do go up over time. So the amount that you budgeted for in your first year may not be that amount for long. In some cases, if the HOA needs more funds, say for major repairs on shared spaces or community projects, they can levy special assessments, which are an extra charge on top of your fees. Imagine getting an unexpected bill from your HOA for hundreds or even thousands of dollars because they decided they wanted new decking on the community pool. So, while HOAs can bring structure and help maintain property values by keeping everything consistent, they also mean that you are giving up a certain amount of freedom and potentially paying for it. So before buying a new construction home in an HOA community, it's essential to read through all of the HOA rules and regulations to make sure it aligns with your personality and your sensibility. That way, you're not blindsided by unexpected costs or strict rules after you've already moved in. Number 4, timing and delays. One of the most frustrating parts of buying new construction can be the delays and the timing. Builders love to give you an estimated completion date, and it's easy to get excited and start planning around that date. But here's the reality. Delays are almost inevitable in new construction. You might be told that your home will be ready in 6 months, but I wouldn't be surprised if it took 8 months, 10 months, even a year to be completed. There are a lot of factors that contribute to these delays. For one, builders depend on those subcontractors that we spoke about earlier, the plumbers, electricians, the roofers, who may be juggling multiple jobs at once. And if one of them is behind schedule, it can throw off the entire timeline. Then there's the weather. If there's too much rain or unexpected severe conditions, construction may halt for days and sometimes weeks. Supply chain issues can also be a big roadblock, especially in today's markets where building materials can be delayed due to shortages or shipping problems. On top of all that, there are inspections and permit approvals. Each stage of the building process usually requires an inspection from the local authorities. And if any part doesn't pass, they have to redo it, pushing back your move date even further. So while it's natural to get excited about that target date, the truth is it's more of a rough estimate than a firm deadline. And this uncertainty can cause a big inconvenience if you're trying to plan your move, especially if you've already sold your previous house or you've already ended your lease. You might find yourself paying for temporary housing or storage or even extending your current situation, which can add additional cost and stress to the process. I had clients who had so many delays on their new home that they ended up renting a house for a year. Then the new house was ready 6 months later, and they had to carry both the lease of their rental and the new house mortgage for 6 months. So just know going in that that completion date is really just an estimate. Number 5, appreciation and resale concern. Let's dive into appreciation and resale because these are two areas where new construction homes don't perform as well as a buyer may think. When you're buying a new home, you're paying a premium for everything being new. But here's the catch. That premium doesn't always translate into higher or faster appreciation. One reason for this is that in these new developments, there are often dozens or even hundreds of homes with similar floor plans, finishes, and features. This cookie cutter feature can actually work against you if you decide to sell down the line, because buyers will have plenty of nearly identical options, whether directly from the builder or other resale properties. Why would someone pay top dollar for your home that's already a couple years old when they could buy a nearly identical brand new home down the street? Additionally, builders often offer attractive incentives to sell their remaining inventory, like covering closing costs, offering upgrade packages, or reducing their sales price on the last remaining units. If you're trying to sell in that environment, you may have to lower your price or offer similar incentives to remain competitive, which can further impact the resale value of your home. So, now that we've gone over the downside of buying new construction, let's go over 5 quick tips to help protect you if you still want to buy new. Number 1, be aware of incentives that may come with restrictions. Builders love to throw out offers like free closing costs or upgraded packages, but there's usually a catch. For example, they may cover your closing costs if you use their preferred lender, who may have higher rates or higher costs, and their preferred title, who also may have higher fees than if you looked around elsewhere. Or that free upgrade may have really limiting choices. So when you see incentives, dig into the fine print and understand what the trade-off is. Number 2, and I think this is really, really important, look up the builder. Not all builders are created equal, and a little research can go a long way to avoid future headaches. Look up reviews online. Check out the other developments that they've completed. And if possible, and I think this is the best way to find out, talk to people who actually live in their homes. Find out how the process was. Find out if there were problems, their responsiveness. Every good builder should be able to provide you some personal references of people who live in their homes if you ask for it. If they can't, I would see that as a red flag. So do your due diligence. A little work now can save you a lot of heartache down the road. Number 3, make sure everything is in writing. Verbal promises from the sales team don't mean anything if they're not in the contract. If they say you'll get a certain upgrade or a warranty or a completion date, make sure it is clearly documented. Builders may tell you what you want to hear to close the sale, but if it's not in writing, They are not obligated to deliver. Review the contract carefully and don't be afraid to ask questions or request changes before you sign. Getting everything down in black and white can save you from misunderstandings and give you leverage if something goes wrong. And number 4, have buyer representation. Hear me out. It's tempting to work directly with the salespeople. They're friendly, they're knowledgeable, and hey, they're right there on site. But remember, those reps work for the builder, not for you. Their goal is to make the sale on the builder's terms. A buyer's agent, on the other hand, is there to protect your interests, from negotiating upgrades to reviewing the contract terms and making sure there are no hidden fees buried in the fine print. I've even advised my buyers on different design choices, which I think will be better for resale value. And a lot of times the builder will pay the buyer's agent if that agent is with the buyer at the first introduction. If you go in and you meet the salespeople and you walk through the model without your representation, without your buyer's agent, there is a very good chance they will not pay your buyer's agent, even if you ask them to, if you didn't meet them with that agent at the first introduction. And number 5, and this has to do with title insurance, ask the builder for a copy of their title insurance. If they give it to you, it can save you a lot of money because you'll get the reissue rate. And they won't offer it, so you gotta ask. I had 2 closings last week with 2 big builders. One of them, they gave me a copy of their title insurance, and so my buyers saved thousands of dollars because they got the reissue rate. The other one said, well, they don't do that for their Maryland properties, so I couldn't get a copy. But it doesn't hurt to ask. You never know, and it could save you a lot of money. I hope you all got some value out of today's video. New construction can be good, but it can also be a beast. So I hope this was helpful. If you want to know more about how HOAs can be a problem, check out this video next. Thanks for watching. I do appreciate it. Bye!